Um, all right, so we'll just start the.
Okay, this is, You ready? Cool, so I'll just welcome everybody.
Yes, hold on one second, because I need to just unmute myself. Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Welcome. I'm Mary Lindsay Adams, and I thank you all for coming out tonight, and those of you on Zoom, yes, it's this way, so I won't better. We're just here tonight to get public on, potential playground that would be totally accessible for all types of people, all needs and all wants and fun. So, but we need to input one today, and part of the GDP with the rock is because we found a grant, so public for it, and then the February 7th. So I don't think it's oh, this is to get your input, which we would have done anyway, but we grant that on one to make sure we use grant money instead of all. So I'm going to put it over to Patrick. I'm just here to welcome you and so Patrick, to you.
Thank you. Yes, so they're hearing me through my computer on
Okay.
Zoom. So thanks everyone for accommodating us. So tonight, it's an exciting opportunity for the township in that the state has recently opened up a grant opportunity for us. So we'll walk you through the grant funding. We'll walk you through what we propose for the park. But the biggest thing that we want to get from tonight is your input. So we have ideas, and we worked with someone who builds out these types of playgrounds to develop what we think is a good concept at this point. But between now and when we submit the grant application, we want your feedback from people who actually use these types of playgrounds, have visited these types of playgrounds, understand your needs better than we do, so we can take your feedback and incorporate it into our final grant proposal that'll be due next week, late next week. So I'll kind of walk you through what got us here so far. New Jersey passed a law in 2018 for Jake's Law. I can't because
What about that?
they need to, as long as there's not feedback.
Is that?
Yes,
Here.
right. And that's what I'm talking here, but I can probably talk to both of them as long as it doesn't create like a loop. You'll be our test case. So if your husband starts hearing echoes, you'll let me know. All right. So in 2018, the state passed Jake's Law, which provides standards for playgrounds that exceed the Americans with Disabilities Act requirements. And they wanted state, county, and local governments they wanted to encourage them to use these new standards in their playground development. In 2022, the Department of Community Affairs adopted regulations for what should be included in a Jake's Law playground. And last year, the state started funding county developed playgrounds that complied with Jake's Law. That last year, that was only open to counties, and 8 counties last year applied for and received grant funding from the state for these playgrounds. This year, 2024, is the first year that the state has opened this up to municipalities. So it's a really good opportunity for us. And it is completely inclusive playgrounds promoting accessible park improvements for children and adults with disability. These are the requirements for Jake's Law playgrounds. You have to have an accessible route from parking, a unitary surface around all the playground equipment and pathways. So that Most commonly in these types of playgrounds, that is the poured in place rubber material. So we're not talking about mulch or grass or any other types of material. And it's required that it goes from any pathways into the playground and throughout the entire playground. So what we have proposed in our concept, at least to this point, is a poured in place rubber playground surface material. Where you have restrooms, you have to have at least one restroom facility that is family or assisted use. And so we are, in this grant application, will include a proposal to make some changes to the restroom that's nearest to the playground there in Maple Crest Park. And you have to have 20% of the surface area in the park shaded. So that could be shaded with natural trees, or it can be shade structures. There has to be complete fencing around the playground. It could be traditional, it could be natural barriers such as hedges. We proposed a traditional fence, right? It'll like a black spindle rail fence. And then they encourage you to include as many pieces of playground equipment that are accessible to different types of users. So physical, sensory, cognitive, social, emotional, imaginative, and communication needs. And lastly, they want you to include quiet play areas for people who would most use that type of play area. The grant itself, it's a 75% matching grant, which is pretty high for state standards. So if we have $1 million project, the state may fund up to $750,000, and the township would contribute the remaining $250,000. And they have said that their goal this year is to fund all projects that apply. So far, they expect that it'll be non-competitive. So anybody who applies and meets the standard will receive funding. They think that that's going to be in the range of $500,000 to $750,000 for the awards. I do know that there are a lot of municipalities applying, and more than the state initially thought. They were gauging their expectations off of last year when only 8 municipalities applied. But I think the word got out, and it's such an attractive program that we expect a lot of people will apply. But we're hopeful that we get a grant between $500,000 and $750,000. If it does become competitive, they'll review proposals based on proximity to other inclusive playgrounds and community disability demographics. So today is one of a few things we're doing to gain input from the public. We have this forum. We also put out an online survey, which has a lot of the questions that we'll go through tonight. And you can also send questions, comments, or concerns directly to me via email or phone call. If we get the grant award, we will also have additional public feedback opportunities. So this won't be your last opportunity to be heard, right? So we'll put in this application. If we get the grant, we'll make it known to the public. And then we have to start actually putting together, all right, we had a concept that we applied for to the state, but now we're going to put this in to practice. How much money do we get? How much money do we have available? And what can we build out in this area? And we'll continue to gather feedback from the public throughout that time. So here's what we propose. This is in Maple Crest Park. You can see the blue shaded area hatched here is where the park is proposed. The tennis courts that are adjacent to it, those will be demolished this winter. And I only mention that because there was a conversation about the potential for a playground to go in that area. We have to demolish the courts. It's because they're unsafe. So it has to be something we do in the near term. And at the same time, we're considering this inclusive playground, and we think it would be best suited closer to the other playgrounds that already exist in Maple Crest Park. And that way, you know, if you're going there with family and friends and you have maybe people using different playgrounds, at least you're in a close proximity. That's just what we think. I mean, part of your feedback could be, should it be where it is proposed, or is there a benefit to it being further away from the other playgrounds? But right now we have it proposed right here for anybody that is spatially disoriented. Springfield Ave is here on the bottom of the screen. That's the police station you see in the rectangle box towards the bottom. And so the blue hatch again is where we propose this park area. So this is the play surface from above, and Melissa Mancuso, we can kind of go back through this. I'll probably flip through some slides, and then she can sit here and actually go through what she sees, because one, she has more knowledge with playgrounds generally, but also she's seen some of the playgrounds that have already been installed throughout the state. And so, Melissa, you want to switch now and you can just flip through and you can describe what you see there, and then we'll get into the questions at the end.
All right. So this is like a top view. So you're not really seeing a lot of the equipment, but you can see the shade, which is offering a lot more shade in the direct sun, which the grant has a 20% that you have to have. And this goes a little bit over than that, this concept here. And let me see, because am I just hitting the space? Okay. Oh yeah, this is more fun. Okay. So here's another section where you can see the different kind of climbers. They're at different levels. Behind in the back there, you can see all the ramping. So it's fully accessible ramps. And then on your way up the ramp, there's different textures on the way up, and there's some sensory like push buttons that make noises. Some of them I've gone to have like laugh machines. I was videotaping the fart machines coming on some of them. The kids all at the park were laughing over in Wayne. So there's a lot of different noises, sensory things that turn, and colors. They have like stained glass texture and just different sensory items as you go all the way up the ramp. Do you guys want me to turn it, or are you? Okay, so you're pointing. I can always go back.
All of these are up on our website, so I can share the address at the end, but if you go on our website, under recreation, and then I think it's under parks, you'll see completely inclusive playground. So all these slides that you'll go up with the mock-ups of the playground are on there. Again, you know, this could change. We really just want to show on the page everything that could be included. This build out that is shown is about $1,300,000. So it's more than likely what we'll get granted and what we'll be able to build, but we want to show kind of every possible amenity that we could include in this part.
And then if you see the slide there, I don't know if you could tell, or if you've ever been to a playground with one. Usually the kids love it. They call it the rumble and roll, but it's like all the different rollers that when you go down, it's not just a straight shot. It makes some noise and has like just a different type slide that's not the straight plastic. There's all the rollers on there. Okay, over here we have one of the QR codes, which I was also going to ask for a larger communication board. I like some other images where they have the really large communication board that's usually listed in Braille and with different offerings also. So that might be an addendum to this. And then you can see on the ramping the different things like the steering wheels, the buttons. That's pretty much all the way through the ramp. So it's not just like you're getting pushed up, you know, up the ramp and nothing to see or do. There's activities on the inside there of the ramps. Let's see. Here are the different musical panels, which usually my favorite part. So I love these drums are my favorite, but they have different kinds of harmonies. The tall on the right are all chimes with the different levers. So that can be hit, make different sounds. Even with your hand, it makes a sound. And the drums, chimes, and there's a different, I think that's called Rockin' Robin over there too, which is, it's nice to have all the music in one area, which it is in this layout. So the kids can kind of harmonize together and it all sounds nice, and they can share in music for some auditory engagement. Okay. Here is another view. You can kind of see inside the ramp there of the different things to do, you know, every foot or so up the ramping. And there's one of the climbers. There's a butterfly climber in the concept, a leaning wall climber, and I believe a couple other climbing options. And here you can kind of see how much shade there is, you know, over both the ramps and the music panel area and other areas of the playground. Here is another slide option with the two shorter slides and some of the other, just another area, another side of the equipment to see. And then this could be considered a quiet area also if there's not too much going on in one of the corners of the playground. And here is the big tube slide, which is, you know, typically popular when I go to visit these playgrounds. There's a mini cargo net and a little table area there under. So there's different levels to sit under the shade also if you just want a quiet break. Here is the bank of swings to the right, which the existing concept has the expression swing, which that's for a little child and usually a parent to be on the other side. We had one over at DeHart. There's a 0G chair swing, an ADA swing, 2 baby swings, and then towards the end, there's 2 just standard swings as well. Then this on the left here is a favorite of mine. It is a place where I say it's for one child because usually I think it's developed for one child, but if you go to a playground where they exist, sometimes a couple kids will get in there. It's a little bit of a quiet zone. It does spin. So it's a little bit like you're part of the playground, but you could take like a minute away and not be totally in the, if it's loud or, you know, overwhelming. It's usually a fun spot to sit in. A playground that I designed once, we ended up adding 3 of them because that was just like there was a line to get in this thing. Nobody wants to get out of it because it's comfy in there and cozy. And there it is. There's a different version. So that is a little enclosed. Here is one of the swings that's proposed. And there is a piece of the musical area, like a harmony panel. There's the drums, which these you just use with your hand, so you don't have to worry about any like tools or implements. They're low, so, you know, adults can use it too. Yes, but kids can use it. And they make a really nice sound for playground equipment, in my opinion. All right, did you want, yeah.
So now's where we want to hear from you about, and a lot of these questions are going to be what we had put into the questionnaire that went out, but I'll read through them just to give you an idea of the type of information that we're looking for. But when we open it up, feel free to share anything, because there's going to be things that you know better than, there's a lot of, most of it, you know better than we do, and maybe we're not asking the right questions. And that's part of the reason why we want to have this. So how likely are you to utilize a completely inclusive playground? Have you traveled to visit local inclusive playgrounds? And if so, how far? What types of features would you like to see at the park? So walking paths, musical play stations, sensory stations, inclusive equipment. What type of specific equipment would you like to see in the park? And it can be that, you know, like Melissa had indicated, those little eggs. If there's something where we know, yeah, you'd like 1, but maybe we'd like 3, or there's a lot of, you know, you need a ramp, but maybe what you saw had more ramps than you think would be used in your experience. That's good feedback. So, you know, now we'll open it up to anybody that's here. We'll start with people who are here in the room, then we'll flip over to Zoom and take any questions from people on Zoom. But we'd like to hear your feedback. So you're welcome to just shout out where you are, because I'm going to restate it here so that everyone on Zoom can hear the question or comment as well. Yes.
Was different kinds of speed on
So the question is, what's the turnaround time from the state on the grants? They have said that their review is typically 3 to 6 months, although they're trying to speed that up, and they'll decide on what they want to recommend to the state, and then the state has to respond back. I think realistically, you're looking at maybe a fall award. So, but we may get feedback from DEP, Green Acres sooner than that in terms of are they recommending us and in what funding amount are they recommending the award?
But
Yes.
Construction,
What's that?
construction then after that.
Oh, so then construction, let's say we're awarded this year, you're looking at construction in the summer of 2025, because we're gonna have to put together construction documents, go out to bid. If any additional funding is needed, we're gonna need to get that lined up. So yeah, you're looking at about a year and a half. Oh, good, thank you. Yes.
So you're applying grant through Jake's law or the difference?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, it's through, those are one and the same. So the question was about where we get the grant funding. It's a DEP program. Under DEP is Green Acres, and under Green Acres is this specific application opportunity for a Jake's Law compliant, completely inclusive playground. So Green Acres will fund other things like acquisition for open space or other types of park development. Yeah, the question was about the match. It's 75%. So if we are approved for $1 million project, they would contribute $750,000. I'm sorry, $750,000, and we would contribute $250,000. Yeah, yeah.
Is that 250,000, is that all, is it to be all tax ceremony, or is there like a funding?
OSTS.
Yeah, so it could be a combination of things. Open Space Trust Fund, we already have some money available for development of playgrounds in Maple Crest Park, so it could be a reuse of or reallocation of that money. It could be additional open space trust fund requests. It could be other bond money. I mean, we have fortunately, a lot of opportunities.
Pat, can
Yeah.
you explain the OSTF and how that's already funded by taxpayer dollars?
Yeah, so as part of separate from the municipal tax levy is an open space tax levy, which is the money derived from that is just to be used for open space. The requirements of what it can be used for are set out. They were set out in the referendum when it originally passed. We have an open space trust fund board that reviews all of them. They make recommendations to the township committee, and the township committee ultimately makes the decision on how the open space trust fund money is used in that allocation. Anybody else? Yes.
General feedback, I think it looks really good. Like, I go to the park all the time because my son has disabilities and spend a lot of time working on park specifically.
Mhm.
We go to a trussing park. And this looks like a really good option that I think would fit our needs. If I were to make a few small modifications,
Please.
the spinning things are always very popular.
All right.
And they're fun, not just to make people with disabilities that's not that, but like I'm living videos of kids running around and holding the thing that everyone's saying. So those spinners, also the parking Verona, that's not inclusive, that is a very feature that I think would be a potential add to this. I also say I don't think there's enough swings.
Okay.
The reason I say that is, if I go to friends whose kids have disabilities and they wanna go on the swing and they all need the big one.
Mhm.
Only one that can go on the swing at a time, there's gonna be one there too big for the biggest one, so. I would lobby for more inclusive swing, maybe 2 of each size,
Okay.
so that there's this option.
Could you repeat?
So, yeah, so for those on Zoom, the feedback was they like the spinning equipment. And is that of any size spinning equipment? So there's the larger tables, there's the egg that Melissa showed. I've seen like in Orchard Park, there's the real small ones. Okay, okay. All right.
There are also ones that are bigger benches that have a little bit of support.
All right, so the feedback is larger turntable spinners where you can wheel on them, as well as more swings than was included in what was shown here. Thank you. Yeah, please. I have to repeat it.
And Central Park has a swing where a parent can hold, sit the child on a swing. So like one or two of those would be really wonderful. You can be, children who can't sit up on their own, or able to kind of, you still have to be on sitting. If one of them is that, or a lot of them, and then the other recreational work as well. A lot of our expectation is to be very full of movement, some people go as a caregiver, we really, need to be helpful.
So for those on Zoom, the feedback was to have more swings, but also swings where a parent-child, caregiver-child could either hold or kind of participate on the same swing with the person who was using it. Okay. Okay. Melissa will make a field trip to, Miss Mancuso will go to Central Park on a research expedition. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And maybe more on ramps, so they're beautiful, it's kind of good, but they're wall. So you can have them on and off season, it will be able to be a little more confident.
So the feedback was for the benches that we have proposed to have backs on the benches, to have parallel bars for people who are practicing walking, to have on-off ramps, and to have a few step-ups. All right, small steps. And as we add to this, was there anything you saw where maybe we had too much of something, or a lot of climbers? Yeah. 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 All right, so removing climbing walls and adding stairs, small stairs. Yes, yes, all right. Yes, please. Mhm.
Soft swings.
Yeah. All right, so having swings that are softer to prevent any types of injuries from, hitting as you swing, yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please. No, that's why we're here, so don't apologize. Yep. Handrails around the ramps. Yep.
And then.
So the question is, what's on the communication board? Yeah. Something we can consider. So There's a preference for larger communication booths.
And then this is something that. And then also thinking about. So the responsibility that is there.
So the feedback is more colors throughout, which the director and I talked about. That's her preference as well. So I'm glad to hear that it's your preference.
Must not be-
And no, we understand. Yeah. And also making sure that we identify the steps, the edges, so that they're easy to identify. See it. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So wider slides generally. All right. I'd like to go to Zoom now for the people. Oh, well, okay. Mhm.
The other thing I was curious, if you had to put off some changes to the bathroom to make it compliant with where exactly a civic and for people who are both a toilet, where we larger and might assistance from here to like that.
So for those on Zoom, the feedback is more turntables, and you had mentioned one specifically where it has a shade structure over the top of it. And so we'll take a look at that. But also a question about the bathrooms there and if we'll be making any upgrades to include a lift for people who are coming from a wheelchair to the toilet. Dave, is that, and I'm looking at our engineer, Mr. Barry, who is looking at the bathroom. I don't have an answer for you, but it's something we can consider. And I don't know what is, how much space we have and what we're able to do in the space, but knowing it's something that may benefit the public, we'll look at it and see if it's possible. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so in the bathroom, a large changing table for people larger than a baby. Yeah.
We put trust. A lot of controversy around.
Okay. Okay, well, we have an opportunity because we know we're going to make some changes to the bathroom. And so a larger changing table is certainly something that's on the table for consideration. Thank you.
I have one more. Yep.
Yes, it would be. Gender neutral family type bathroom,
I want
yes.
to give the young lady in the back a chance.
disabilities who were others who can go out and rely on civil and defense.
So the question is the park just designed for people with disabilities, or can anybody use the park? I mean, the idea is we want to make sure it's everybody using the park together. That's part of the idea. You know, there might be areas of the park that are a little more tailored towards people with disabilities, but the park as a whole should have a little bit of something for everybody so that they can play together. That's the idea. Mhm.
And then finding stuff that can make it more for the kids. Because, you ask kids to always feel watch with one and I can work fine and stuff like that. But it's not absolutely accepted. And
And what was the last one? Pretend play areas. Okay, so it was more swings, which we've heard before, and so that's good. Dull colors in the quiet areas and pretend play areas.
Quiet colors.
All right. Anybody else? Yes.
from it, and the macro, and the applicant, so to bring that to the over the money policy. And then I was just wondering, you're thinking like from the parking area, how far along is that? And if it goes to the.
So the first feedback is, you know, having a complete fence around the playground. That's our intention and that's a requirement of the application. So that'll certainly be in there, but it won't be hedges. No, it'll be a full fenced area. And the distance from the parking lot to the playground as proposed, we're thinking about 100 feet, Mr. Barry? We think it's about 100 feet. Yeah. And there are requirements on, you know, the surface from the parking lot to the playground. So those areas will be things we're looking at as well as part of this application. 100 yards. 100 yards.
So this is a little bit longer than.
New Oakland is a little bit longer. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Consider some transport area for small parking, for example.
So the question is, can we use the tennis court area where the courts will be demolished for additional parking? It's not proposed right now. Again, you know, it's space, so we can always consider additional parking should it be necessary. I don't know.
An opportunity on like Boyden Parkway.
I think we would look for other areas first. But yes, if it becomes where we have a great playground and, you know, there's not enough parking for people who want to use it, then we're gonna have to start strategizing on how can we provide the parking that's necessary.
And there's also, we don't want to lose more park space.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah,
So
it's a
already
balancing
smaller.
act. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll balance.
Yeah.
But, how. That intersection right there. I think that.
So the comment from the public was to look at the safety of cars on Oakland, is that area can, that for the pedestrian crossing, is that area can be challenging at times. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Feedback for handicap spaces in addition to what would normally be required. Yep.
Refill station for water.
Yeah, I'll have to see what's there already, but sure.
Yeah, there's a little one.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, please.
That the company is actually quite slow, because if I would actually want to take to the master. But, and it's also part of it, whatever they're complicated, and when I have a walk half a mile to the playground, I can play with my new one.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about the park community, inclusive, then we're both able children who are and disabled children, you need to think about it from the parents' perspective, because if I can small, so if I want to get to the park, that I can be an advocate there. So what we're talking is this one thing to think about it, both from the handicap perspective with timing, but also like trying to be close by, because I can then be an advocate. And that's one thing I was really excited about, this from the protocol. So I think that is one to be talking about, and thinking like that, so we can be far from the idea, whether it needs to be a disabled child or it's.
So the input was about the proximity of parking to the playground and shortening that distance, not just for people using the playground, but caregivers who may also want a shorter distance, benefit from a shorter distance. Okay. Zoom. Yeah, all right, so let's take some feedback from people on Zoom. I'll put my volume up, and here's hoping we can all hear. All right. Let's see. Stop screen share. Okay, so for those joining us on Zoom, if you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand and we will move you over to panelists so that you can make your comment. So I see Kim Takis. I will promote you now so you can provide feedback. Hi, Kim, how are you?
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, thanks.
Okay, wonderful. I have a comment and a question. First, my comment, I just want to say thank you and to show my appreciation that that I think there are so many community events and spaces that disabled neighbors are left out of. And so I think it is an important step that you all are taking. So I thank you for your time and effort in applying for this grant and all of the planning. It was a pleasure to hear the PowerPoint tonight. And I truly think this is a benefit for our entire community. So I just wanted to extend that appreciation. And next for my question, I also very much appreciate the lengths you're going to, allow for community input in this, between the survey and this forum, and you mentioned additional forums. But I was just curious whether there are additional steps that you've taken to ensure and prioritize that we're hearing and centering the experiences of disabled neighbors, both parents and kids who are disabled, as well as the parents of disabled kids. Because we, of course, I imagine we want to ensure that those individuals that have been historically left out of our playgrounds here are the ones that are making sure their voices are getting heard. So just curious if you have plans for, specific outreach to the disability community.
We reached out to a few of the groups that we know work in this space to provide them information on the grant, on our proposal, and also asking them for support. So we went out that way, and beyond that, everything that we did to make connections with the community was through the public emails, Facebook posts that we had sent out. If you have additional suggestions about who to contact and the best ways to contact, we're certainly open. I mean, it benefits us and it benefits our application to connect with them. We do have a deadline in terms of when this application is due. It's next Wednesday. So we'll be taking feedback that we receive here, incorporating it in our grant application and submitting the grant, but we still have opportunities after that. So if we're not able to connect with whoever you suggest we connect with, or in the ways you suggest, before the application, we can certainly do it after the application. And you can share that feedback about who to connect and how to connect now, or you can email me offline, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, I'd be happy to shoot you an email for
Great.
sure with some suggestions. But yes, thank you for considering that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim.
Yep.
All right, I will be moving over Mark Benusi to panelist. Hi, Mark, welcome. You're now a panelist. You can speak.
Thanks, Patrick. Hope you can hear me okay.
I can.
Yeah, just a quick one. First of all, this is awesome. And everything everyone said, I completely echo. I think one thing that I was thinking about as you were showing me this, because it's so comprehensive. You've really, obviously you've thought of everything because you've done this before and you've got some incredible planning going in. Honestly, I was just thinking about sort of like the rigor that we have to put into taking our son to a play center, and I don't want to say it's a bigger operation than it is for other children, but you know, when we go, we want to go for maybe a period of time, and it's just an idea. And I know this means that you have to do some thinking about things that I'm suggesting here, but something for the parents to make it more of a durable situation for the parents who look after these children. And I'm not even sure what that means, but maybe I was thinking in terms of having a facility for maybe you know, like seating areas and things like that. And obviously we're looking after our children full time, but we also have another child in our family. So, you know, I was just basically saying, would it be a wild suggestion to incorporate some more seating and situations for the parents, for maybe just to give them a bit more of an opportunity to be there, if that makes sense. Anyway.
We can look at the seating that we have proposed and just, you know, see what we think is appropriate. I know there is a good amount of bench seating proposed along the perimeter of the park, some of it in shade areas as well, which we wanted. But we can look at, you know, how much and, you know, how much use we think the park will get, and, you know, if we have adequate benches.
Yeah, absolutely. And the benches are awesome, and that's great. I was thinking more along the lines of like getting more situational with like a table, so that maybe we could take like things along there. But yeah, maybe I didn't see that in the diagrams. But thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. If any other people joining us on Zoom would like to speak, please raise your hand now. No other hands. Very good. So, I mean, the biggest takeaway now is, you know, we'll update you guys along the way. But you have my contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Ms. Mancuso, the Director of Community Services, with any feedback you have on this application. But also, you know, this is an interest of the township to provide these types of amenities and accommodations. And so in any of our parks or in anything that we're doing, we want to hear from this community, you know, more frequently and with feedback on what we're doing. So we appreciate you attending tonight, but also, you know, we ask that you continue to keep in touch with us going forward. And Committeeman DeLuca has a comment.
And what we send in the town, I mean, what we send in the state is an application, but there's a lot of room from now until we get approval to make changes.
Right.
So even though we will take official vote to send something down there, it's really a placeholder, we'll be able to do a lot more over the next few months.
So committee person DeLuca's feedback was that we have a public hearing at our township committee meeting next Tuesday night, where the township committee will have a hearing and then vote on the application for this grant. And a reminder that we have a lot of opportunity for feedback between now and when we actually take steps to finalizing the playground and going out to bid for the playground. Great. Yes, please.
To the playground and like everyone will be there about that.
It's not proposed in what we have here, and I think part of the reason, and the question was about a water feature in the playground. There's some disadvantages to doing it. So it's used for a short amount of time. Maybe you have it on from May through middle of September, so it's not used every month. And then the bigger hurdle is the water itself. So you either have two things you can do when you introduce water like that. You can provide water and then let's say it sprays out, it goes into a drain and it goes into the sanitary sewer, which is wasteful, right? Because every drop that comes out of whatever feature it is going right to the sanitary sewer. The alternative to that is you recapture the water, treat it, and recirculate it. Recapturing and treating is expensive and it's ongoing maintenance as well. So I think that it wasn't included in this application because it wasn't the focus of the application. And I think if you're not doing a larger idea of some type of spray park, it doesn't, you don't get the same benefit from a smaller feature.
And just the plumbing alone is super expensive
Yeah.
to install it, depending on where it is and how far the water source is and how long that trenching and piping is. And all of those things that go to it, and then that takes away from what we can actually put in
Yeah.
the recreation
amenities,
area
yeah,
for the
yeah.
park.
So the thought is it doesn't, it doesn't make good fiscal sense because we can do more with that funding. Yes.
The water slash filter, because every Thursday in summer, it's like midnight, so they needed like friendly towards like kids with disabilities.
Oh, yeah.
So was doing it every weekend in the summer.
And what was the name of the park? Wheeler Park in Linden has a splash park where one night of the week they open it up to individuals with disabilities. What,
Yeah, all inclusive.
all inclusive.
Cooler, and they kind of water, so
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
in the off chance that the populating grows so much in the affordable project, will this project get continue on in 2025 and not be there?
So the question was, if we're not funded by the grant, what happens then? It'll be a consideration. I know we have money already dedicated to developing play space in Maple Crest Park, right? And so that's an interest, and where we already have money dedicated. We know that there's a need for an inclusive playground. So that's already been identified. What happens? How big is it? What does it look like? When can it be funded? I think those would be questions. Should we not be granted, should we not receive a grant from the state? A lot of things to consider there. So I don't think, well, one, I'm not in a position to, in that I'm not an elected official. They're the ones who make the decisions, but I think there's a lot that's going to go into that conversation. But I can relay that we have some good things already, and we already have some funding dedicated to this, and we've already identified the need. So I would hope, even absent grant funding, we're able to move something forward.
What'd you say?
What the question was, what's the amount of money set aside from
About 500,000.
previous open space funding allocations? We have $400,000
Something like that.
for developmental placements. You're welcome.
Some of that's being used for something.
Yeah.
Oh, demolition,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
of the. That's still.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I just wanted to put love our new all access committee that we're forming, so we do want to make sure our program and things we need for this more inclusive. So go to our website, if you're interested in applying, you can apply on our website and to Larry and our community, we are working to this together, so. This has been very interesting for all.
So a reminder for those on Zoom, Committeewoman Engel had shared that we now have an all access committee that was established by the Township Committee at their last meeting. And we are taking applications for that committee. And so in the next maybe week and a half, we'll be putting out some communication to the public, explaining the committee, explaining the type of people that we're looking for, and we'll open it up for applications, so anybody can apply to be part of that committee. And then those applications would be considered by the Health, Human Services and Community Services committee, and we'll staff that. But we're looking to do that in the near term. I mean, the next, I would expect next month we have at least some names to start considering. Yeah. So it's exciting. Yes.
I'd just like to say, if I had brought down meeting, we too have a position open, so. But extremely eye-opening to me, and thank you all for coming and speaking up, and I think this is a fantastic opportunity, and my one big call out, and Melissa knows this, is just, and you've all already said it, is the parking availability, getting in and out, and how that works, and I think that's a tricky subject to try and make it work, but I think a lot of people will do to make some things happen, so. But, again, thank you all for coming out, very, very much appreciated.
Great. All right, then that will conclude this meeting. Thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you.
All right,
everybody.
take care.